Hey, what's up, everyone? Tim here, aka Renfail, the bearded dwarven princess. You know what time it is. It's time for House of the Dragon episode 2. And I gotta say, unlike Rings of Power, where I came into every episode dreading the actual watching, I was looking forward to this episode, and I was not disappointed because episode 2 of House of the Dragon was just as good as episode 1, and we are setting up some major events leading into upcoming episodes. So, without further ado, I'm going to get into my review of episode 2 House of the Dragon. I know I'm behind the times, I'm getting caught up. Uh, Fair warning, spoiler alert, because I don't shy away from anything. We're talking about the whole kit and caboodle here. If you're new here, welcome. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon. For those of you who have been here for a while, you know what to do. Support with a membership. Thanks to all these people who are already supporting. You can also do super thanks if you don't want to do the monthly sub. More at the end on other ways you can support, but in the meantime, let's just dive into the review. So, I was actually, because I didn't get the song during the first episode, so the theme song, but the second episode, the theme song was there, and I was really kind of like, really? They went with the same Game of Thrones theme song. Obviously, it's a different um, graphic, different, visuals, but it's the same theme song, which I think is just them trying to reinforce the idea. This is Game of Thrones. Don't forget this is Game of Thrones. We enter this episode with someone getting eaten alive by crabs, and it sucked because I was literally eating a muffin with my coffee, and it's just like I wasn't ready for that visual at all. But it is what it is. It was there. Um, so we're establishing, that's the crab dude, whatever he is. Um, we're in the King's Council next scene, and it's just sort of all about how they need a new member of the Kingsguard. There's open conflict in the court because of the crab feeder, who's this pirate king, apparently backed by the Free Cities, and he's basically established this colony on the King's, in the Seven Kingdoms. And some of the council members don't want to go to war because they've never gone to war with the Free Cities. Corlys asks, what reason do they have to fear us when the king's own brother openly defies him, having seized Dragonstone and fortified it with an army of gold cloaks? Which it appears we've done a slight time jump here because, um, well, last we saw, Daemon had been ordered to return to the Vale. And I think, from what I understand, there's been about a 6 month time jump here where he's just gone and taken up residence in Dragonstone and calls it his own place, and he's there with his horror and his dragon and his gold cloaks. Um, Rhaenyra says, "Send me and our dragon riders. It would be a show of force." And Corlys agrees. But the hand suggests that the princess would be better off busy with other things than hanging out in the council chambers. Why don't you maybe go pick out the new Kingsguard? Um, there's another way. Shut up, girl. We don't want you here. Um, she oversees all the men, ultimately chooses Criston Cole because he's the only one who's had any combat experience. Um, and then this whole time we see the old princess, the queen that never was, Rhaenys, watching over the entire proceedings with interest. And I'm just wondering to myself, what is this old woman up to? Hmm. Then we do get a scene here back in the king's chamber around this massive stone carving he's been working on. He's doting over Alicent, giving her the history of the Valyrian capital, where the blood mages worked, and this is the hand's plan. I saw this in the very first episode when the king, his wife died, and Otto was like, "Go comfort the king, and don't forget to wear your mother's dress." Like he wants to, this is all about establishing his daughter as the potential next candidate to be queen. Total power play here. And we find out that the princess is 15 years old here, as is her. I'm assuming her friend is around the same age. The next scene is the two girls talking in private. Rhaenyra complaining about the men of the court. Alicent asking if she would mind if her father remarried. Um, and we get this scene of doubt from the princess. He didn't choose me to be the heir. He spurned Daemon. There is a difference. So she doesn't trust her father. And Alicent says that sometimes her own father doesn't know the language of girls and urges that the princess meet with her father. The next scene is very important here because Corlys and the queen that ever was, Rhaenys, are having a private meeting with the king, telling him that the kingdom is now perceived as weak, and we want our daughter to wed you to bond our two Targaryen houses, and the dragons and the Valyrian fleet be bound in blood and strengthen our unity and show everyone, that we are united as a kingdom. So that's interesting. Power play, yes, but also not a bad move. Um, we have a dinner sequence between the princess and the king. The princess wants to continue her conversation, but the king cuts her off, saying, "You are young. You will learn. Shut up." And then we see the king getting attended to by his private physicians. His finger is rotting now. Maggots are cleaning the flesh, and he confides in the hand about the marriage proposal, along with the other member of the council, who is the Meister. Otto freaks out here visually because he's been trying to set his own daughter up. So we get this scene in his face where he's like, "Oh snap!" Um, but he's very, you know, um, pragmatic in his approach here, and he says, "Well, it would be a sound decision to marry this daughter." Um, that has been suggested. The king meets with her, and we find she's just a kid. She's like, I don't know. I think we find out that she's like 12 years old. She's asking lots of history about dragons and Vagar, who I guess is one of the old dragons living out on the coast somewhere, no longer bound by chains. Kid gives a speech that her father wants her to give about, strengthening the line, and I'll give you many kids. And the king asks, "What did your mother tell you?" And the daughter said that I wouldn't have to bed you until I turned 14. The king appears upset, disgusted. I don't know. He's tortured for sure because he really doesn't want to remarry. He still has much love for his dead wife. Um, there's a scene here as we see Rhaenyra watching her father with this young girl, and Rhaenys is there. "Does this bother you?" And "Does it bother you?" And she's like, "Of course it bothers me, but I understand the order of things, and I'm not sure you do." And she gives her this speech about how this is a man's world. This is the order of things. You need to learn your place. And one day the king will remarry and will have a son, and the realm will want the son to be the king, not you. And there's this back and forth banter. I loved it because it was this scene of the old crow telling the young girl, the kingdom already had its chance to have a queen, and they decided not to take it. And Rhaenyra says, "No, they chose not to have you. I'm different." And Rhaenys is like, "It's no different, sweetheart. You're just too young to see it yet." It's a really good scene here. We then get this intimate scene between Alicent and the king. She brings him a new stone model to replace the one he broke earlier. It's starting to get very personal. There's looks being given, so on and so forth, and the hand interrupts to call an emergency session because we found out that Daemon has stolen a dragon egg from the keepers of the dragons and left a missive where he says, "I am Prince of Dragonstone and rightful heir, and I am going to take my second wife in the old traditions, and she's going to be known as Lady Mysaria of Dragonstone, and she's pregnant, and he has invited the king to the wedding in 2 days' time." So the council's upset here. Daemon's whore. This is sedition. Rhaenyra asks, "What egg did he take?" And it turns out it was some dragon named Dreamfire, the same one that was chosen for Prince Baelin's cradle, which I'm assuming is to ensure a male heir. That's provocation. King wants to go immediately and drag Daemon back, but Otto won't allow it because that's playing into Daemon's hand. "Send me instead." There's this scene here where he's getting dressed and he sees his daughter's fingers. And he's like, "You're the most comely girl at court. Why do you destroy yourself?" Because she does have this nervous habit that she's had forever. It's really weird here. Um, so they go off to Dragonstone, and the visuals here. This whole scene is like the visual. This is the visual scene for this episode. Um, on this bridge leading up to Dragonstone, Daemon arrives with his egg. This commentary with Crispin is brilliant because he's like, "Criston Cole, was it?" And he's like, "Yes." He's like, "I can't seem to recall you." He's like, "Perhaps you'll recall when I knocked you off your horse at the tourney." And Daemon laughs and says, "Haha, fair enough, fair enough." He's like, "That's a good one." And he commends him on the comment. So he does appreciate the fact that this kid has balls to stand up to him. Um, next thing you know, Daemon draws swords. All his men draw swords. Daemon's dragon shows up. The hand wants everyone to sheath their steel. They're gonna have to walk away, and then up out of the clouds comes Rhaenyra, swooping in on her dragon, unannounced. Kid's got balls, man. And she confronts her uncle. Finds out he's just being petty. None of it was real. He's not actually wed. He isn't going to wed. This girl's not pregnant. His whore's not pregnant. The whore finds out. She's pissed that this was all just a play using her, and she didn't even know about it. He throws the egg at the princess, and then she gives Otto this look like, "Don't fuck with me anymore." Um, there's a great scene here where Daemon's whore is just really pissed off because she realizes that she's been used. She's like, I didn't know we were going to be wed, and you can't have children with me because I ensured that I can't have children many, many years ago because I don't want to be burdened with them. Um, you swore to protect me. What are you going to do when they come and take this place back and find me, the whore who's supposedly with your child, but I'm really not with your child? They're going to cut my head off and put it on a pike. I came with you to be free of fear, and here you are putting me in fear's path again. It's a very powerful scene of how Daemon's actions are starting to piss off even those closest to him. The king has another private meeting with, I think this is the Master of the Coin. I'm still learning all the characters. Wants to know about his opinion on marrying the child. And this guy also says you should wed her. Corlys controls a massive portion of your war assets in the fleet, and we're on the brink of war. And you better to have him as an ally than someone who's not on your side. Because even though you are the king and you can command him, it would be better to have him be your friend in all of this. So everyone, literally everyone, is telling the king you should marry this kid. He calls a council, announces his marriage, and then says he's going to marry Alicent. Corlys is pissed, and Otto is smirking because he got what he wanted all along, and Rhaenyra feels betrayed. Interesting power play here. I don't understand at all why the king chose this when all of his political advisors are telling him to do this other thing, other than he's been forming a personal bond, and he's still suffering greatly from the loss of his beloved wife, and he did love her. So I feel like he's making a decision based on what his heart wants versus what his duties are as the king. Sucks to be the king. We now see Corlys having a private meeting with Daemon. And it's a tense meeting because he's basically trying to stoke the fires of Daemon's discontent with the king, but Daemon keeps reminding him, don't talk about the king like that way. Like that. I can talk about the king that way. You can't. He's my brother. I'm allowed to talk about him that way, but you can't. But basically he wants Daemon's help with the Crab King or the Crab Pirate dude to eradicate the pirates, and he appeals to him and says, as the kingdom's second sons, our wealth is not given, it must be made. Oof. Oof. And that appeals to Daemon. You can see it in his eyes. So we'll see where this is going to go in the next episode. We also get a glimpse of the Crab King, Crab Pirate, Captain Crab, whatever his name is, Crab Feeder. And he's got like a mask on or something. He appears to be suffering. Is he suffering from grayscale? Not sure. Doesn't look good. He was hammering a dude to a post out by the crabs. So next episode, we're going to be seeing all this. Yeah, again, 10 out of 10. I got no complaints about this episode. Like everything was brilliant. Costumes, dialogue, music, pacing, the acting, everything was top notch here. I no complaints at all. Love to hear your thoughts and comments below. This is such a refreshing breath of fresh air. It's like a palate cleanser after Rings of Power. Um, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, support in all the ways I talked about before, and if you want to go above and beyond, Patreon page over there. Yeah? Cool. All right. See you guys next time. Hope you have fun over the weekend. Don't forget the Rings of Power videos coming out. Hopefully we'll see you in a live stream. Till next time. Peace.